Hi, welcome to the walkthrough of my inventory system application. This program is built with Java and uses JavaFX for the user interface functionality. The best way to explain what this does is probably by explaining it through the interface. So I'm going to go ahead and run the program to get that open and moved over here. And here we can see the first screen that's loaded on the stage of JavaFX. This is called the main screen, and it shows the parts pane and a products pane here. And the idea of this system is that it would be used for a company that sells products. The examples used here, there are already some demonstration parts and products loaded. This uses the scenario of a pinball machine manufacturer. So these are some popular favorite pinball machine products here. And these are parts used in building pinball machines. So that is the scenario. All right. And these table views are using a getAll method for an observable array list, which is just the JavaFX version of an array list, listing all the parts here and all the products here. All right, so we can see on this main screen we have a search boxes for parts and products, and this will search through all the parts either by part ID or part name. To see if there's a match, and this is a dynamic search, so if I enter any integer that is included in the ID portion, or that matches the ID portion for the part, it'll show. So there's part ID 7, 8, and if I enter a 1, there's nothing there. And then you also get the exception handler displaying an error message here, part not found, and that message goes away when you clear the field. If I look for a flipper and I enter FLI, but then I enter a, so it finds it with that. If I enter a Z, it disappears and I get the error message there. Same thing for products. I can search for 1, and there's nothing that matches 1, but 1007 is a product and it shows up there. Alternatively, if I enter T, I get the Addams family and Terminator 2, but if I go ahead and put a TH, it's only the Addams family. And then if I put a THZ, then the product is not found and the table is blank. Okay, that's the search function, complete with exception handling. Now we can modify or delete parts from this screen. If I try to modify a part without selecting one first, I'll have another error message here, please select a part. Same thing if I delete, please select a part, shows up there. So if I go ahead and select a part, and we'll first, well, before doing that actually, and let me show you quickly the products pane does the same thing. Oops, actually selected one. So I will show the add part and then the add product functionality before modifying them or deleting them. So when you click that, it closes that main scene, main screen in JavaFX and initializes the add part screen. So this has some input fields for the instance variables of a part. Now part is a abstract class, and it is a parent to the in-house and the outsourced classes, which are the specific types of parts that we can create. And when we click on the radio for outsourced, you can see here that the final field switches from machine ID for an in-house part, which is manufactured in-house by a machine, versus a company that we would be buying this outsourced part from. So the machine ID and the outsource and the company name fields are unique for in-house versus outsourced products. So those are not included in the parent part class. All right, so that's a point to keep in mind. That comes into play when modifying in-house or outsourced parts. When we toggle between the two, we actually are going to be creating a different type of part. So there's some functionality behind doing that I'll talk about a little bit more when going through that. The ID field is auto-generated, so it's been disabled here with a message. This will increment as parts are created, starting from the number 1. So we'll see that. So if we enter new part, say we want to do a spinner, and then we'll have an inventory of 10. Actually, one exception handling to mention here is if we try to save this part without entering any data, we will get error messages for each one of these. And as I enter data, say spinner, and I try to hit save, well, that error is gone, but we still have all the other errors. So I'll go ahead and show that each one of these error messages goes away as I complete the fields. One important point too is that the program is prevented from crashing after the error messages are displayed. And you can see that, again, if you look at the code which is included in the repository, you can see how that's done, but just so you can see it here in the user interface. Say there are 10 in inventory, the cost is $15, and the max inventory that we want to keep in stock is what this number represents, so we'll call that 19. The minimum we'll say is 5 that we want to have, and I haven't been doing it for each one of these, but I'll go ahead and click it now, and you can see that machine ID is the only one that still requires an input. So I will put something in here, but before I do this, actually, there's another logical error check. Inventory, the amount that we have on hand, needs to be between the maximum that we want to have on hand and the minimum that we want to be allowed to go down to. If that amount is outside of the bounds, it's gonna give you a message and say that the inventory must be between the min and the max. Also, if the minimum is more than the maximum, you're going to get an error here where the min has to be less than the maximum. And you might have a situation where you end up putting in a minimum which is more than the maximum, and the inventory is in between it, and you still get that error message that doesn't let you do it. So we'll put this back down to 5 and put the inventory in between. So now there should be nothing else wrong with what we're entering here. We can save that. We get a spinner. I'm going to do one more real quick. So this is going to be, say, a ramp, and inventory 5 will be nice. But this time we're going to create an outsourced method, okay? And so both we'll see here that we're able to successfully create an outsourced method, and see that the ID is going to generate to the next number 2, the next available integer. So we'll say that the cost is $20 for one of these. Maximum we'll say is 20. Minimum we want to have is 2. And the company name will be Ramps Are Us. And save that one, and there we go. There's our ramp, and the ID is 4 and 5 since we already have 3 parts in there. Okay, so now we've got some new parts, and again, this is all, these objects are being created and maintained in runtime. There is no database backend with this program, so just something to keep in mind with that. It's all going to get cleared out when we exit this program, which we can do with the exit button, but we won't do now. So I'm going to add a couple of products very quickly here. So we'll call this Who Done It, which I don't think, there's the cancel button. You can see that it brings us back to the screen. I already included that pinball machine. So Congo is another great pinball machine. And we'll say that we've got 5. These cost $4,000. And we want to have no more than 10 of these in stock and no less than 3. Okay, and another functionality here on the product, which is different than the parts, because products are made up of parts, we can take some of these and add them. Say, we need 2 flippers in order to make this pinball machine a spinner and a ramp. We can add those there. We can also remove them. And when we do that, we get a dialog here confirming that we want to remove it. So we can say, OK. We get a little message here saying that we removed that part. But actually, we kind of do want to have a ramp. So let's put it back. And we can search here for parts if this list becomes long and we want to search for, say, a bumper and we don't see it, then we can pull it up there. And if we enter a bump Z, again, we get the message that it's not found. Okay, and all right, now we can save this. And there are the same error messages here. You can try that for yourself when you download this file. As the errors if you have these fields blank or the logical errors that I explained before. Now we'll go ahead and just add that. All right, so those are the adding the parts and products functions. I'm going to discuss the modify next. So we've got to select one. So here is our spinner. I'll modify this one, and now we can call this spinners, and say we have 100 of them, and they cost actually $150, and we have 190 as the max that we want to keep and 50 as the min, and say it was created by machine number 10, and we save that, and now we can see the new name there, the new parameters that were set for this. Now let's modify it again, and this is a particularly tricky point. If we want to actually say this isn't an in-house product, but we want to start buying it, notice that that field changed and it cleared it out so that we can enter a company. Now, if I switch it back, I change my mind. We still have the machine ID there, and we can save it again, and it'll be fine. But if we actually want to switch it to an outsourced product, what has to happen here is because these are sibling classes, both children of the parent, they cannot simply in the code be cast as one another. So what happens when the action event of this button being clicked, not only is the field here and the text field being, and the label and the text field being cleared out, but actually that in-house product, when I hit save, that action is going to cause the original spinner's product to be removed from the array list, and a new product outsource of type outsourced is being created with the same, retaining the same ID. So it's actually replacing and creating a whole new object and just abandoning the original object to get around the problem of not being able to cast siblings between each other. So that's what's happening, and you can see how that's done in the modify part controller file is where that happens. So let's just do this, and we're going to say that Acme makes the spinners for us. So we'll do that, and yeah, now we can see it back here in our list. And anyway, you can go back. Ramp was actually originally an outsourced product. In fact, I created 2 ramps, 2 types of ramps here, and we could switch that to an in-house product as well. Okay, and the same thing is true for products in the modify screen. So I won't explain the details there. One important point to note here is that the method for adding part to the associated parts observable list here is not a static method. This is a method that is particular to the instance in question that is being modified, in this case the whodunit. So if we add, say, 4 ramps to the whodunit, and we save it, and then we want to do something to Adam's family, if that was a static method to be adding things here, then we'd end up having the same parts for all our products. So that is an important point to note also in the code, that that is an instance method, allowing for individual assignment of parts, associated parts, to a product that we want to add or modify. All right. I think that pretty much rounds out all of that functionality. A couple other points here are, if we want to delete a part, I'll just delete one of these pre-populated demo parts. We do get a confirmation dialog here too. And if we cancel, then we can see a message here that just lets us know that it wasn't deleted. If we do go ahead and delete it, it gives us a message saying that it was deleted, and of course it's gone and removed from our array list. So that's all the function of this inventory management system. Thank you for watching. When I click exit, it will exit the program. And again, I'm not going to walk through the code because there's a lot of it here that you can view at your leisure, and there are explanations for all classes and methods. Thank you very much.